right, Kevin. Here we are in our Readathon.
The Readathon.
It's so nice to have you back on the chair, in the big chair. Welcome back.
Thank you. Baseball season continues.
It's been a while.
It's playoffs, yes.
It's honestly, it's been a while since you've been in the Readathon.
I certainly have enjoyed listening to all your other guests come on and
have you actually listened to them?
Oh, yeah. It comes out on Patreon, like immediately. I listened to it on the way home from the game.
All right. So today was a doozy.
Okay.
You're joining us at a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just get right to it. It began with the state's collision expert.
Is this the same guy who was on the stand at the end of last week?
That guy.
That guy. You showed me a photo. The guy looks like a thumb, only smaller. He looks like a pinky.
A pinky toe, yes.
Okay,
Although
pinky toe.
I'm not going to make fun of his looks because he has not demonstrated that he likes making fun of other people's looks.
No, okay.
Not like Trooper Proctor.
Trooper Proctor.
Yes, this is State Police Trooper Joseph Paul. So we're just going to call him Paul because, he's Trooper Paul. So I'll just catch you up. On Friday, he testified that data collection system on Karen Reed's SUV showed that she put her car into reverse, pushed the accelerator, sped up to 24.2 miles per hour. Hitting a person at that speed would cause the kind of injuries he saw in O'Keefe, he said. This is all via the Boston Globe.
Okay.
He said, quote, the lacerations to his arm from the taillight, the dent with the scratches where his hand could be, those are something that would be consistent in this particular case with striking the Lexus. This was all his determination. And by the way, there are some great videos online of people have made like actual accident reconstruction videos where they sort of try to show what he says happened.
And they can't make it work. Okay.
It's amazing.
Huh.
It's amazing. So anyway, what happened today was that he basically...
I was going to say, I find it amazing that even these high-end luxury cars, that the computers, the black box inside can know all of those things about all the time you're driving.
Oh, we're going to get there.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, actually, it can, by the way. It totally can.
That's amazing to me. Okay.
It would work better, though, if the state didn't actually delete all the data. But we're going to get there.
Okay.
They did actually pull some data like a year after. That's a whole thing. But there's a couple of different black boxes in the car. But anyway, so what happened initially today was that Alan Jackson, Karen Reed's attorney, grilled Paul on his credentials to be a, quote, expert.
Okay.
In a way that was so embarrassing.
I heard it was pretty cringe.
It was so cringe. He kept asking him questions like, did you study physics in the class that you took? And he was like, well, it was really awful. And he asked him questions like, what's the difference?
Do you know science?
Yeah, what's the difference between constrained and unconstrained motion? He said he couldn't recall. And Jackson, of course, had all the answers. He's like, this is constrained motion. It's a predetermined path where unconstrained motion is not predetermined. And he's like, you don't remember that from your class? And Paul's like, well, my class didn't go into that kind of depth, so basically he's like, your findings were based on your opinion, based on your experience. And he's like, yes. Okay, so one thing that happened today, and this happened a little bit later, but I just want to point it out initially because it shocked me. A lot of the determinations that Paul made were based on where John O'Keefe's body was is the determination for these theories, calculations, states, like, assertions of the crime, right?
Yeah.
Do you know how this guy is like determining where the body was?
No.
So basically,
not where they found the body?
Yeah. So
okay.
a lieutenant told him where the body was.
Okay.
That lieutenant never actually saw the body firsthand. He just told Paul where it was. So 15 to 20 feet from the road, and then later, like the number kept changing.
Over there, generally.
It's basically like, it wasn't using photos, measurements. It was like the body was there. So basically, this is all based on where people said the body was. It's so arbitrary. It's like those chains in football where they say like, bring out the chains to measure if this is a first down. And it's like, is it or not? Just why are we using this precise instrument when the referee literally put the ball down where he thought it was? And then you bring out the precise measurements to measure it later.
Yeah.
So basically, this comes up a little bit later. Like, he measured the length of various pieces of debris from O'Keefe's body by estimating where O'Keefe's center mass would have been at the time of the crash. And Jackson was like, did you have to sort of guess where you thought John O'Keefe's body was? And he's like, I did not guess. But meanwhile, like, this is all coming from things people told him, like where the body was. People who didn't actually see a person who didn't actually see the body firsthand. So that amazed me. So now on to some good stuff.
Okay.
Alan Jackson asked Paul if John O'Keefe was hit by the SUV and quote, flew 30 feet. He noted that, so keep in mind, there was a grand jury for this case, not the federal one, and that came up a lot today. So he noted that Paul previously testified that O'Keefe was struck and projected to his final resting spot. And Paul said today, no. He didn't fly through the air. He got pushed in that direction, right?
Okay.
So he kept saying that again and again and again. So Jackson asked O'Keefe, like, how did he manage to hold on to his glass cup despite being projected or pushed 30
Jesus.
feet?
Yeah, right.
And Paul's like, I could have just been with him the whole way. It could have been tucked next to his clothing, right? So, the witnesses, by the way, said pieces of glass were found near O'Keefe's body, right?
Yeah.
Remember, O'Keefe's cell phone was found under his body. He asks Paul, how do you account for his cell phone being found under his body? What's your theory on how that cell phone ended up flying 30 feet with him? Paul says, quote, it just did, quote, I didn't put the evidence there. Jackson says, and I quote, well, you didn't.
Yeah.
Of course, the prosecution objects, and, it was a great, great moment.
Yeah.
So this is what is incredible. Jackson says, Paul's been provided with some basic parameters of what occurred, right? Like he's provided with basic parameters, and then he does all of his testing based on these basic parameters that people have told him. He's not using photos. He's not using measurements taken at the scene. It's like Proctor, Trooper Zachary Clark gave him like, quote, the lowdown on some details. And he's doing all of his testing and all his reconstructions based on them saying, this woman hit this guy and his body was over there. So reconstruct that. That's basically what he's working from, right?
Right.
So let's talk about the scratches on the car, because she has scratches in the back of her SUV. And so Jackson asks him, how do those scratches happen? And do they occur during the collision or sometime beforehand? And Paul's like, I don't have any information that the scratches happened beforehand. And Jackson's like, do you have any scientific evidence that Reed's SUV was scratched on January 29th around 12:45 a.m.? And he's like, there's no way to scientifically tell when a car was scratched. And basically, he says, Paul, you testified that the dent and scratches on Reed's SUV could have been from O'Keefe's hand. And he's like, no, I said a hand on a glass cup. But there's no scientific way to say when a car was scratched on a specific date and time. I don't know every single scratch on that car. Okay, so that happens. So then...
Did he say it like that too?
Right.
Did he?
Sort of.
I'm
going to play you some tape, and
all right,
you'll understand the tenor of this, okay?
Okay.
So basically, Jackson is sort of something that comes up that's really interesting. It's kind of clear that Paul has been told about evidence, or that's basically what Jackson is intimating, and that the reconstruction and all of his opinions are based on the evidence he was told about.
Right.
So he keeps bringing up this glass. Were you informed that glass pieces like on the SUV's bumper could have matched a drinking cup? All right. And he's like, I don't know anything about that. And Jackson's like, but if you knew that pieces on the bumper didn't match a cup, would it change your opinion about anything that you've said about this case? And he says, quote, it's what was told to me as evidence. Jackson keeps asking, would your opinion change if the glass didn't match the cup? Okay? So that keeps coming up over and over and over again. All right, so here we go. This is the part you're going to love. This is where the science stuff comes in and what he knows or doesn't know.
All right.
Jackson really tries to nail Paul down on the science of the accident reconstruction that he did. I would like to play for you an exchange that happened. It's a little bit lengthy, but it is very illustrative of what happened today. And I'm just going to ask you.
I got my popcorn. Go ahead. I'm ready.
This is very illustrative of what happened today.
You said that the calculations would be based on miles per hour and stuff. Did you ever do any stuff to test that? It's the grand juror's question.
No, we cannot calculate anything from this collision.
Say that one more time.
We cannot calculate anything from this collision.
Who's we?
I'm sorry, me. The role me.
Well, you know John O'Keefe's weight, right?
What's that?
You know John O'Keefe's weight, 217 pounds, right?
Yes.
Did you know that?
I don't know his weight, no.
You know the weight of the vehicle?
Yes.
What's the weight of the vehicle, gross weight?
What's the gross weight?
Yeah.
I think it's approximately 7,300 pounds.
Okay. Were you able to calculate the mass of the vehicle?
I did not calculate the mass of the vehicle.
Well, you told the grand jury that you were planning on doing that kind of stuff to calculate how far a person would travel being struck at that speed with a car of that weight. You didn't do those calculations?
No, because the calculations would vastly underestimate the speed of the vehicle.
You testified, again, my report isn't done yet. I'm going to look into it. I'm looking into all that stuff, end quote, correct?
Yes.
There's that word again.
Stuff. Double
It's been
stuff.
more than 2 years since that statement at the grand jury. Is your report finished?
Yes, it is.
Did you engage in any of those calculations?
I looked into it. This type of collision I would not be able to use the formulas for this type of collision.
Well, let's talk about those formulas. How would you calculate how far a body at rest would travel after being struck by an object in motion? How would you calculate that?
In pedestrian collisions, I use a Searle throw formula.
A what formula?
Searle.
What does that mean?
It's a type of formula that we use for a calculation of post-impact
So
or speeds for pedestrians.
that includes certain principles of physics to calculate that, right?
What do you mean?
Physics.
I'm sorry?
What do you mean by certain forms of physics?
I'm sorry.
There would be physics calculations that would be required to figure out how far a body at rest would move having been struck by an object in motion.
It's fucking ninth grade
That's a basic
science.
principle of
Yeah, I guess you could say though.
Yeah.
All right. Can you describe for the jurors exactly what calculations you would need to employ to determine how far a body at rest would travel, having been struck by an
It's like a
object
kid
in motion?
waiting for the bell to say.
So, in this scenario, in this collision, it's more of a side swipe. So he did not ascertain. He did not get enough speed of the vehicle post impact with the vehicle to be able calculations. His center of mass was offset from the vehicle, so we would vastly underestimate his speed. So
Yeah.
that's why I did not do a formula. If he was more in line with behind the vehicle, he would have been projected forward, and using that projection forward, he would have been able to get more closer to the actual speed of the vehicle during that post-impact travels.
Well, that presumes a couple of things, Trooper Paul.
Trooper Paul.
That presumes that he was quote unquote sideswiped, right?
Presumed,
Presumed by you. You didn't see how he was hit, did you?
based on the evidence, it appeared to be a side swipe.
That's your opinion.
That's just reading the evidence.
You're saying that the principles of physics as we know them today in modern mathematics is thwarted by a sideswipe?
Objection.
Is that what you're saying?
The calculations that are out there, you
Oh
can
my
get a
fucking
speed
God,
and just
Einstein.
underestimate the speed.
Yep.
You would have to know what the initial momentum of the object is.
Wait for it.
That's in motion, correct?
Of what object?
A truck.
What object?
Paul.
I would have to know that speed.
Yeah, you'd have to know what the initial momentum is, not speed, momentum. There's a difference,
Okay.
right? Would you agree with that?
No.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. So yeah, you get a sense. This is what the cross-examination.
Mrs. Frigoletti would be so mad at me.
Yes. This
For not.
This was the state's accident reconstruction expert.
Wait, not the prosecution. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts' state trooper.
Yes.
So if you go out and you hit a telephone pole, this thumb is going to come out there.
Don't call him a thumb. That was Proctor.
All right. This
This man
This reject
Yes.
is going to go out there with a protractor
Yes.
and say, I don't know what the mass is, but it looks like...
He kept saying that he couldn't use a formula because he was sideswiped because the evidence says it, but the evidence was literally someone told him
Yeah.
that it was sideswiped. Okay.
Oh my God, that was so painful.
Guess what?
What?
Then we get to
Tell
the
me
injuries.
there's more. Oh, the injuries. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
That's what I've been waiting on. Is okay. All right.
How exactly was that tail light shattered?
Okay.
Paul says it was shattered when it struck O'Keefe's arm, which he was possibly holding out by his side. So basically, the whole idea is that he got struck on the arm and got multiple cuts on his arm.
The forearm, right?
The forearm.
Or the entire arm.
Well, if you look at the arm, it's actually the forearm and the upper arm past the elbow.
Okay.
Multiple cuts on the arm from a shattered taillight.
That's a big fucking taillight.
Correct.
Right.
And basically, he wanted to know why he didn't have any injuries on his shoulder or his back or torso.
His wrist or his fingers.
And basically, he said, in the scenario you just told us, he flew through the air. And he says, no. He's projected, but that means you just got pushed forward. So he asked Paul, how can you account for the fact that O'Keefe did not sustain any broken bones? He said he could not account for that. And then basically it's like, so you're saying the discipline of physics cannot calculate how far John's body would move, but you personally can? A lot of stuff like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So there was redirect. And
we need to rehabilitate this witness.
And during redirect, Paul said that some of his analysis was informed by Reed's statements at the scene. The I hit him statements, the quote. So his data was consistent with her alleged statements at the scene.
And not empirical evidence.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So also, he determined where the strike was based on where stuff was found on the street, like the sneaker, the glass. He decided the strike point was where, quote, the furthest point of evidence away from where the body was found. And keep in mind, where the body was found was an arbitrary point that someone told him.
Mm-hmm.
So he decided where the furthest piece of evidence was, the farthest piece of evidence, that's where the strike point was. Right?
Okay.
So, asked how far O'Keefe may have like tumbled or rolled. He said it was, again, it would be hard to determine because he was sideswiped. The formula would underestimate the speed of the SUV at the time. Now, keep in mind, he already said what the speed was, the 24.2.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that was weird. But yeah,
so he already has a fucking speed.
Yeah.
So he can't. So what?
Right. Well, we got this
here's
speed
what
from
I'm
the
hearing.
computers.
Here's
and
what
shit,
I'm
right?
hearing.
Yeah.
You can't get your formula to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying you can't do the formula. That's actually what's happening. All right. So that was Paul. There was a recess after Paul, which we all needed. All of America needed a recess.
A palate cleanser.
All right. I'll just tell you next. There was I'll go quickly. There was Ian Whiffen, a product manager at Celebrite, which is a digital forensics firm. It was a long piece of testimony basically saying that Jennifer McCabe's phone was not the time, in his opinion, that the search for Has Long to Die in the Snow was done. They are spending so much fucking time on this Has Long to Die in the Snow search.
Well, it's bad evidence for them.
I understand
it's a bad
that,
factor.
but they're spending
yeah.
so much fucking time
they're
on
worried
it.
about it, yeah.
They're spending, obviously, the defense must have a witness around it, but they're spending like a ridiculous amount of time. Instead of just ignoring it, they're just spending a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
This is like the third witness they've had, a second or third or fourth witness they've had, and I don't know. All right. Then there was another witness about data on the car.
I'll just say, if I'm the prosecution, I know if it is like proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that search was made in the hours before Karen came, it's game over for the prosecution. So the prosecution, they definitely need to play defense on that.
Correct.
So that's why they're concerned about it.
But they're playing a lot of defense on it.
Well, I think that indicates exactly how scared they are of that.
Right.
Okay.
So our final witness of the day was a state police trooper named Nicholas Guarino. He is like the first state trooper.
Is he also bald?
No, he's got hair.
Oh, okay. Maybe I like him. All right, let's go.
And I'm going to show you the very short video of the day that features him. Okay?
Oh, all right, sure. All right.
So he was a very strange piece of testimony about the car. He says a company called Burla has technology that can help investigators obtain vehicular data from the infotainment system. Ultimately, they did what was called a chip off to take memory chips off the infotainment system, which permanently took the data off the infotainment system. So they basically destroyed the data on the car and
took the brain out of it.
And ultimately, there was no data recovered off the infotainment system or the telematics module from this chip off. And then it could not be re-reviewed because it was destroyed during this. So there was one whole system that was wiped, okay?
By accident.
Yeah. So by the way, this guy also reviewed the hard drives and laptop and desktop computer taken from O'Keefe's home. He was looking for ring footage. Basically, he ended up using his phone instead to review ring footage. And the big evidence from him of the day was text messages that he received from cell phone extractions from O'Keefe and Reed's devices. There's this whole thing about Karen Reed's device, which is super interesting, where like he says like a year like after they got it, then he was like, it was a whole thing where like they couldn't access it, and then like a year later or whatever they could using her passcode, which by the way, how is that possible? Because what's his face Proctor's already looking for nudes, so she gave them their passcode. But anyway, it was a whole thing.
Unless he was just blowing smoke.
The so-called shocking evidence that came out today were texts between Karen and John O'Keefe.
Okay.
Which basically just illustrated their relationship. And they make O'Keefe look really bad, in my opinion.
Okay.
They make him look like a gaslighting, shitty boyfriend. I hate to speak ill of the dead.
Okay.
But on the afternoon of the 28th, this is the day of the incident.
I would say it's important because what the prosecution has been saying is that she is a cold-blooded killer.
They're trying to speak to motive.
Okay.
But can I just read you some of the text?
Please.
Because I'll just read you a couple of the highlights.
Please.
Like, he said he asked her to stop calling him after she placed a dozen calls. Basically, she's like, why would you start with me this morning? You're setting me up to fail. They had this like fight. Basically, there's a whole thread. He says, this is the one that stuck out to me. I'm sorry. This has been an issue with me for 8 years. It physically hurts me to see everyone else in their life do things for them, and I'm forced to always be the bad guy.
He says this. Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't that sound like familiar language to you? That's like language that like...
I say that to you all the time.
No, that's like language that people use when they're like, we're trying to reverse the thing. I'm always the bad guy, right? Darvo language, right? Yeah. So basically, it was a fight over the Dunkin's food that she bought his niece and nephew. That was the fight that people witnessed after the at the bar. Basically, it's like I'm sick of always arguing and fighting. Basically, it's like, John, you gave me grief this morning. I'd like to call you. Basically, it's very clear that like he came at her very aggressively that morning. And he's just sort of like, I know I did, but like, this is a thing that you bring out in me. It's sort of that kind of tone. It doesn't make him look good at all. I don't want to fight with you, but you fly off the handle at 8 a.m. with me like you're setting me up to fail. And like, it's really kind of sad. Clearly a volatile relationship, but he's very much doing the whole like, thing. And so basically about the Dunkin' Donuts food, Karen wrote, I'm not the same as everyone else. Most of the time I try to do what's healthy and smart for them, his niece and nephew. I try to support you, what you need. You just lash out at me. You say terrible things. I don't know how you've gotten to this point at me when I'm just trying my hardest. You made your point and then you continue to beat me down. I've got a lot going on too. Physically, I'm falling apart and trying to get answers and need help. Tell me if you're interested in someone else. I can't think of any other reason why you've been like this. So yeah, it's just like, it's sad, right? And basically she's trying to call him. She wants to talk to him. It surely doesn't sound like someone who's planning to kill her boyfriend. It just sounds like a shitty relationship.
Yeah.
So this is what this guy, this digital expert is. This was supposed to be like the crown jewel, I think, of the day. But I have to play you something.
Okay.
This guy had a hot mic moment today.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And this is all anyone is talking about. It sort of negates whatever like hot evidence he was going to have. This is what everyone's talking about around this guy.
Is that consistent with what you observed in Mr. O'Keefe's?
Yes, it is.
Kill me.
His phone is that consistent with what you observed?
Kill me.
Yes. He says, So that was
It's
sort
like,
of.
I do not want to be here.
Yeah.
I'm going to be on so many podcasts.
Some people think it was Lally who said that. I think it was him. I mean, because you can see it's like very like.
Oh, you can see it. He's on video.
Yeah, but also like his lips don't really move when he says it was him.
Yeah, because he said under his breath. Was he getting grilled at the like?
He
what was
hasn't
happening?
been cross-examined yet.
Oh.
That was under direct.
Oh, wow.
He doesn't want to be there. No one wants to be there.
No, especially
because they know they're about to be cross-examined.
I mean, I don't know about you. I don't think like 37 people got together in a conspiracy. In the classical sense, where like they had a meeting around a table or whatever.
They didn't.
I do think that some people were led astray by other people, and they do things that put them in a bad situation, or they do things because they believed the person who told them that, right?
Yeah.
They got bad information. They had no reason to doubt them.
Paul thinks she's guilty, probably, right? Paul probably thinks she did it. Trooper Paul.
Trooper Paul's working on information that he got from people who...
But I don't feel bad for him because he made shit up based on what people told him to do.
Yes,
his stuff
that's
is
it.
not science, and he's pretending it's science, and it is not.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, I feel bad for Paul. He got crushed. I'm like, how can you feel bad for someone who's not admitting that he doesn't know what he doesn't know?
There seems to be a pattern of it's either the prosecution or the state police investigators or both that try to pressure people to make these square pegs fit in round holes.
Correct.
So...
This is a state police department that just had this huge overtime scandal. They've had by the way, you should look at this, an editorial in the Boston Globe today about the rot in the Massachusetts State Police. They've had a bunch of recent scandals. I guess they haven't been able to find like a commissioner of the state. It's just it's been like this months-long search.
No one wants it.
Of all the scandals they've had. Like, it's just like this, there's a culture of sort of cover-ups and like...
Yeah.
A whole like brigade of people like was let go because of this whole other cover up they did. Like it's wild. And I said this to Jamie and I've said it before, but like tell me if you think this feels right. Okay? I believe, if you look at Proctor's text 16 hours later, it doesn't read like I'm covering up for Colin Albert and trying to hide the fact that he actually killed this guy. It reads like I think this woman who I think is horrible with a leaky balloon did it, and I'm going to do everything I can to make her go down for it. And then I think he probably, if he did this stuff, acted to do that. And if there's also a cover-up going on because some people in the house did something bad, that is separate. I earnestly believe there might be two separate cover-ups going on here.
Yeah.
Does that feel like potentially right to you?
Yes, it could.
Yeah.
It absolutely could.
Anyway, it's not getting less wild in this courtroom.
No, but can we do the one turtle boy thing? Can we conclude that on the podcast?
Yeah. Do you want to hear how he interviewed Karen coming out of the courtroom today?
And he did, who's who, so we know who Turtle Boy is.
Yeah, we talked about that. All right.
So this is, and I saw the video, but I guess this is like after everyone's coming out of the court and they're walking down the street, they walk past, a couple of
all the reporters
and the camera crews, and then Turtle Boy with his phone finds Karen and walks a little way with her and like throws a couple questions.
Talks to him.
And she talks to him, and this is classic.
Yeah.
All right, now we see Turtle Boy kind of moving around the media scrum.
Yep.
And he sees a couple of lawyers and then spots Karen.
Mr. Yannetti or Karen, do you think that those text messages will make people forget about Joseph Paul's disastrous testimony this morning? Do you think that was their plan?
They've gone through everything but my sock drawer, and they won't go into Brian Albert's front door.
Do they think those text messages are abnormal, or like not something normal people have in relationships? Is that supposed to be the smoking gun?
It's supposed to be the smoke and mirrors is what it's supposed to be.
Roasted. By the way, did you see the state trooper walking alongside?
Yeah.
The uniformed trooper?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Anyway, so what do you think of today's readathon, Kevin?
That was great.
Yeah.
That was absolutely great. Physics.
Physics.
Fucking physics.
I'll just say, if you're listening to this and you're in high school, just remember, you don't have to remember all the physics you learned in high school. Just remember to admit that, you don't know what you don't know. And it's okay to say, I don't know what I don't know. Don't pretend you know shit you don't know.
Look, there's definitely a need within law enforcement to have people who can do accident reconstruction and stuff like that. And it does require a bunch of knowledge of science. If you are a law enforcement officer and science wasn't your thing, don't raise your hand. You can find other uses for your ancillary skills. But if you're like the guy, I don't know.
What do you mean physics?
Physics. Speed, momentum, gravity.
What object?
Object.
All right, Kevin.
Motion.
We will be back.
Newtonian physics.
There's some trial tomorrow. There's no trial Wednesday. We'll be back with more Readathon this week.
Wednesday, we're going to be live, by the way. We're going to be live with our Married With podcast. So join us back here on Patreon. Tune in.
Correct. All right. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Partners in Crime Media.